Good afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to an extra episode here as we got the Steel Shepherd patch notes out. Well, hey, I'll primarily focus on the, multiplayer stuff. That's obviously what most people are interested in, though there's, of course, some new content being added as well, which basically means 2 battle groups for multiplayer, 1 for single player, plus some cosmetics. Obviously, I think pretty much all of us had hoped for more battle groups for multiplayer to start with, but considering the all sets fix a lot of other stuff in the game, there's also clearly been a lot of shuffling about, like you've watched in the recent streams. There's certainly a lot of Age of Empire 4's veterans, so hopefully just next year they start picking up more battle groups. But for now we got 2 battle groups, so it's a start, but not an ideal start. So, also a couple new maps, and of course we got a replay mode. Huzzah! Lot of visual improvements, though I won't be really going to those here. Hopefully I can show them off on Thursday with the first episode I'm planning to put out there. There's also significant changes to daily challenges and weekly ones, so that should be nicer. Bunch of single player stuff, but we're here to talk about multiplayer, and specifically the balance. Again, there's a lot of changes as well to responsiveness, selection, the way weapon upgrades are looking, stuff like that. So, on to multiplayer balance changes, bridges, which I think is only going to affect larger maps and certain maps as well. It's not really something to talk about there. So that's sort of it there. We're moving on. Field defense, I think, is one of the bigger ones there. Basically, all units now fighting. That means bunkers and fighting nests and whatnot. Basically, they get a bonus inside of them, which is something there really wasn't an incentive to build one of these and stuff infantry on some of the time. Now there is. They also have more slots to fire out of, so this is a pretty significant change that could just make throwing down a bunker or a fighting position or whatnot, a fighting nest for the Wehrmacht there, a bit more of an interesting option. I don't know how good it's going to be. If it's going to be too good, it'll still be not enough, but it's something now to actually consider. Could certainly open up for some more play styles, which is seemingly what they're aiming to do mostly with this patch. So that could definitely give some options for the Wehrmacht, maybe in the early game, to sort of fight against certain strategies. We'll have to see. Another big change is just basically grenades are basically being made a lot better. They're being made more responsive. They also just generally, do a nice amount of damage on average. Wehrmacht ones will have a bit longer range, but the Allied ones will do a bit more damage. But generally, they should just be more responsive, fast, and just, get more of an impact in, meaning flanking and then throwing grenades is going to feel a lot more useful than it used to be, where at times you could flank, throwing a grenade, and then just not a lot happens. So this, I think, is going to be overall a pretty good step up for just making grenade play a bit more handy again. There's also just buffs to mortars, so that's another, change there as well. That's going to, I think, just make mortar play, obviously, grenade play more handy. It's going to make it a bit harder in some places just to dig in, as again, mortars are not going to be handier versus that. There's a long change to how you just can't placements at your base, and a bunch of them have been made, better. This is probably also a response to the whole, if they're going to make static play more useful, they also need to make the counter for it a bit more useful as well. And the Wehrmacht fighting there specifically now goes from 100 manpower to 50 manpower. So that obviously makes it a bit more interesting to use, though of course if it gets ungarrisoned, it goes on neutral, so the opponent can actually grab it. So some other changes there as well. Off-map artillery against defensive buildings, a little less effective, though of course there's still on-map artillery. And Wehrmacht bunkers, they're faster to build now, they're cheaper to build by a fair bit, and also cheaper to upgrade. And the medic bunkers now basically work like the US medical station. Basically, previously, there was a thing where they could give you free grenadier squads, but apparently that was bugged, so they just removed that. And, they basically otherwise just made it better as well. The repair bunker also now works a lot better, so, a lot of, improvements there to make the Wehrmacht bunkers a bit more attractive, because at least for 1v1 and 2v2, they just didn't see a lot of usage. Moving on, we got US balance changes. There's an armor increase for the Jeep. It also gets the Scout Commander, which allows it to do reconnaissance. So, yeah, that's obviously going to make the Jeep better, which I'm not entirely sure it needed, but it is an option for user of players. We'll have to see how that goes, but I'm a bit, about that one. We also get the anti-tank half-tank, or the half-tank gun motor carriage, getting buffed in a variety of ways. They clearly want to see more play, and it currently just isn't, so the barrage is being improved, they're making it cheaper, giving it more range. They really want to make it more useful. We'll have to see if this works out. I would like to see more of it. I do think it's a handy unit, but certainly at the moment, it may feel a bit much. Bazooka team also getting buffed, so that's going to be big for those bazooka lovers. Anti-tank guns, armor-piercing rounds, now last longer and also get extra damage. That is pretty big, and I'm a huge fan of, because moving a bunch of entertainers about this, I feel like already a bit of a standard strategy amongst a lot of players, and this just means for the USF, like getting a lot of riflemen with buffs, and then, moving entertainers behind them is going to technically get even better, rangers now. So, not a fan of this one, I feel like. I mean, I could be overblowing this, but yeah, I'm a bit concerned about this. Airburst Barrage, again getting a bit buffed, it appear. I feel like they should have just kept it where it was, but oh well. And we also see a buff here to the just general M3 half-track. Just didn't do a lot of damage. There's no real point in getting it, so getting the machine a bit of oomph, I think, is nice. Greyhound getting armored side skirts, getting more health. Again, I get the logic, but at the same time, considering like how some USF players with armor can just rush them up really fast, I feel like making them even tougher could like just risk, in particular when the Jeep got buffed, create these really snowballing USF starts. So again, I might be a bit biased against this, but might be a bit much. We'll have to see. Hellcat getting nerfed, I'm personally liking. You could just spam a lot of them previously and just, swarm stuff and just knock it out of there. Having a slightly lower rate of fire, I think it's going to help slow down Hellcat spam just a bit and make it a little less efficient. This is just like you get a pack 2 or 3 Hellcats easily and just start melting German armor, which then backed up by a lot of riflemen, obviously make things even less great to play against. So Bulldozers are also getting a buff here, increased damage, also increased damage with bunkers. They clearly want to use on-map stuff to clear up bunkers, a lot more accurate, also gets cheaper. Like, there are already some players already using the Sherman Bulldozers. I think we're going to see that become even more prevalent with this, so yeah. Moving on to some battle group changes, the airborne reinforcement is made notably cheaper. It just works a bit faster. Smoke bombing also made cheaper. Armor, they're making the fast deploy even faster. I am not a fan of that. It was already really, really good. Now they can, particularly considering it's a 0 CP ability, I don't actually know why they're doing this. Like, get a Jeep even faster and the ground even faster. Like, for me at least, I feel like Armor was already like an incredibly strong battle group, and I feel like this risks making it even more so. So, not a fan of this at all. Particularly when, again, this one cost 0 CP. I feel like this is a bit questionable, to put it gently. Moving on, special operations. Smoke also made cheaper. Raiding flares make cheaper, but also the Weasel calling with a flamethrower user set now comes with a pack howitzer. So this, alongside the infantry battle group that they're getting, means the USF's going to have more access to artillery, which is definitely a rather common complaint. So that's a pretty big step up there. So again, some issues, things I'm not a huge fan of, but willing to wait out. We'll have to see. For the Wehrmacht, though, the 251 is getting buffed. It's going to accelerate fast, which is big, going to get a bit more mobile, but also the machine gun is also getting buffed. Hopefully that's going to actually make the machine gun feel a bit more felt, because it just wasn't before. Hold down gets changed, can activate it in battle now, but on the end, the bonuses they provide are significantly better. Jaegers, they're buffing them a bit there as well. Small buff, not big, and they're actually buffing the machine gun, specifically just the damage, not the suppression or the arc of fire, but they are making it so it does more damage again. So that's a small buff there to the Wehrmacht early game. Nebula is getting buffed. Not entirely sure this is really going to be of any help, though. The problem with the Nebula, from my experience, is just, well, it just doesn't hit, and when it does hit, it's too late. So, I mean, this could make it more useful, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to be useful enough. Panzer Command is now going to require, either Panzer Grenadier come to the Luftwaffe Company. Pretty big nerf there. Kind of means, the Luftwaffe strategy has been used to seeing won't be able to work, that you can't just rush out a Panzer IV. Obviously, for Allied players, this is going to be huge. It does mean there's less pressure on them in certain situations. So, that's obviously going to be buffed there, but certainly for Wehrmacht players, it's going to feel a bit less rubbish if they like those kind of strategies. Pioneers are getting buffed. That's nice. So that should help a bit there in the early game, even the late game a bit. And armored side skirts will start the health bonus and also provide extra armor on the sides. Plus, they're buffing the Starstruben. Yeah. I'm not so sure they need it, but I'm not going to complain about it either. And some of the assault rifle package is also getting buffed. Again, not complaining. And the Sturmpanzer is also getting buffed. It's going to be cheaper in fuel. AoE is going to go off. Deflection damage is going to increase. That actually means tanks sitting in front of it. It's going to definitely not want to feel it either. Wehrmacht Marder is going to be a bit more expensive, but it gets this hull down of sight main gun, which kind of works like it did in Co 1, which is basically gets more range and fires faster. So that's actually really good. Can make the Marder a lot more useful. Rapid production, also getting buffed like the USF version, but crucially, it costs 1 CP. Still, this could actually be kind of nuts. Like, I would like to rush out Stukes with this, and this is going to make my Stukes hit even faster. So, I guess that's a counter to fast Greyhounds. And for Luftwaffe, it's primarily just changes here to the flak emplacements. They were kind of not seeing a lot of play. They've been made cheaper and more accessible in some cases as well there. So that's nice. Also, they make the flak 88, really hit aircraft hard now. And this is actually one I'm a really big fan of with mechanized. The Stuk D now comes with Starstruppen. Yeah. So definitely liking some of these Wehrmacht changes, both the nerfs and the buffs. There's primarily some buffs to less seen units, so that's nice. Crusaders getting nerfed in terms of scatter, especially the Crusader Mark III, because previously just go for a lot of them, upgrade them, and just melt infantry and take on tanks. Like, that was just too good considering that cost. So having less scattered, or increase the scatter, meaning they're going to be like less accurate. This is going to be, I think, very important. And it's going to make it feel more balanced in the late game. They do buff the grants penetration, which is fine. Personally, I thought it was alright. The same with veterans. With training now, it's going to be, I think, quite good in sort of threatening armor. So, nice buff there. And then nerfing the Matildas, that it can't quite like just take on medium armor as easy as it could, which was a bit silly. So, liking these changes. Centaur's going to get buffed. Like the other sort of shows, say, heavy assault weapon armored units there. So, that's nice as well there. Commanders can heal out of combat. Very nice change there. I do think commanders are nice, but having some healing on them now is going to be very, very nice. And, there's some other stuff there as well. British Armoured, getting some small buffs there. The Fortress Assembly there can also repair faster, a bit like the Wehrmacht Repair Bunker. That's nice, and actually nerfing the Air Burst, which is good. Bit too efficient. And they're slightly nerfing volunteer infantry, though I feel like it's not an issue about command points. It's an issue with those, 25% reduction to reinforcement costs in general. And I think here it's like, less. They need to be like 4 CP. I think the GIST bonus itself needs to be less impressive. This is like a slight speed bump, honestly. I don't think this is going to be sufficient. Moving on to the DAC. Not a lot of changes, but there's some buffs. The flak feeling is going to get nerfed a bit. So that's nice. It was O-tuned. Of course, the Troika now Father Flame for the move is a bit much. Martyr 3 getting smoke cancer is nice. The Panther 3 is getting buffed, which is very handy. It has more armor now, and it's cost a little manpower. Not a big buff, but it is, I think, nonetheless a buff. And you also get some buffs to the Italian Combined Arms Battle Group with the... And also Armored Support Battle Group that gets a bit more expensive, but you also get the Strafe improved, and it doesn't suppress. It's, pretty nice for like getting some snipes there. And the Bessieri is also getting a minor buff. So, overall, not exactly a lot of the balance changes I'd like to see. They're clearly, confident, how they want some of this stuff to go. Then again, I'm not happy with all of it, but they are nerfing, I think, some problematic units, and I think more so crucially just helping, bring in more units just for, hanging in the sides, and they're trying to promote more strategies. So I'm willing to see where some of all this stuff goes. But there's definitely some points of concern, and they're primarily in the US Armored Battle Group there. Then again, it might just be ignored by Swarms or Rangers because they're not doing anything about the infantry support center. We'll have to see. But for now, generally positive and optimistic, particularly with all the other changes coming to the game overall, so we'll have to see. But either way, look forward to Thursday's video, where I'm going to actually be putting up some gameplay. Cheers everyone, though, and see you all another time.